I got you.
How? How Gordon? Yeah, so just got a bit of an introduction. So I know Gordon off the Sober Spirit Sanctuary. I've done a few of these lately. So hi Gordon, how are you? Tell us a bit about yourself.
All right, Neil. Thanks for doing this, by the way. I think it's good for the group. A little bit about myself. Well, I'll start with how I met all of yous. I think I was about to delete my Twitter account, and I saw Dorothea, this blonde girl in a Liverpool jersey, and her was mentioning something about sobriety and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I reached out to her and didn't think I'd hear back or anything like that. And she said, yeah, this is a group, come join us. And I literally just deleted my Twitter account after I just jumped over to SSoS, and that's been almost 2 years now. So that's how I met all of you. I live in the States now. I'm originally from Ireland, and yeah, I moved to New York when I was about 18, 19, and then had about 15 years there, and I have 12 years now I'm up in New Hampshire, which is north of Boston, like 40 minutes.
That's right. So just for my own nosiness, what year was you born?
78.
Yeah, same as me. Yeah, I thought you seemed a bit more experienced than me, so I thought you were a bit older. You don't look older, by the way. No, but yes, it was Leitrim in Ireland, wasn't it? What was the early days of like? What's your family situation?
Yeah, I was born in Dublin. My father was from Leitrim. My mother was from Roscommon. My dad had a business in Dublin at the time, and then we moved back to Leitrim, which is, going from a major city in Ireland to like barren country, like forestry, coal mining town. And I always wondered, why the hell did we move back here? But I was later to find out a lot of that stuff. My childhood it's not a happy one. It's a lot of chaos, a lot of I'd say violence in the home, outside of the home. Just upbringing was kind of rough and ready. My mother left when I was about 5 or 6. She had 4 boys. She just took off. We didn't know where she went, and later found out she left she had an affair and went to the States. But I had no touch with. I was never in touch with her from that time she left until like sometime in my teenage years. So I lived with my grandparents. My dad kind of just drank and felt sorry for himself. And just looking back on it, yeah, times were tough, but drink and alcohol made it so much harder. Alcohol was chosen over food on the table, and I can never understand that now as a father. But I understand it as a disease and things like that. That's what it takes. So my upbringing was, I wouldn't say I had a childhood, Neil. I had to grow up pretty quick. I got work very young. My first real paying job was when I was 12. And yeah, I worked farming, and I got a job in a kitchen in a neighboring city in Sligo. And yeah, my head wasn't in school because I was always thinking about, home. And my only release was football. Gaelic football.
Football.
Yeah. Yeah, and Liverpool was kind of my dirty little secret in a way, and me and a few lads, because Leitrim's a bordering county. It's on the south side, but it's on the border of the north, and it's not like Belfast or anything like that. But it is staunch Republican, I would say, and I don't know, just some people just didn't look at English football. They saw that as the Queen's game and things like that, and they just never really supported us as we wanted to play. We wanted to play footy. We tried to do it on our own, and we played neighboring cities, and we did well, but nobody had any interest in investing in it. It was always the Gaelic football. So that's what I played all my life, and me and a few lads followed Liverpool, and then as we got older, it became a little bit more acceptable, I suppose, or whatever, because a lot of the kids that were growing up were either Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool. And yeah, I mean, I how they've chosen to be in Liverpool. I think one lad had a jersey. Now to have a jersey back then was like, wow, he was his family was well off,
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it, the candy, and it was a red jersey, and he wore it to Gaelic football practice, which was another little, I was like, wow. And I just remember being in love with it. And I'm 7, 8 years of age. What do I know? And then I would say, first off, I'd say the World Cup had an influence in my football, '86,
Yeah.
and then the FA Cups against Everton with John Aldridge and Ian Rush up front, and
Yeah.
Everton had Stuart McCall, super sub.
Yeah.
That that is that's where my memory is, with Liverpool love just starting. Like being able to get the game on TV was a big thing too. So yeah, that's kind of how I went into it, and then it was just a love. It was just I would walk to the town. So our aerial fell down, this fucking thing that looked like a chimney sweep, but it fell in the wind, and I lost BBC. I didn't have it, we only had 2 or 3 channels on the TV. So I would walk into the town and go to the pub. And at that point I was like 16, so I was playing Gaelic football and I was playing senior football, and that was kind of like all right, you're a man kind of thing. Now you'll get served and you won't be asked anything because he's playing on the senior team. So I would go in and I'd sip over a pint and I'd watch Match of the Day. And I would do that like every Saturday. And then I emigrated when I was 18. So
yeah, I just want to stop you there. I want to go back
yeah.
to the years, like the pretend. What was it like with the Troubles in Ireland and the Thatcher era? That was my era. I lived in Liverpool at that age, but that young age where money was tight, a lot of unemployment. What was it like where you were living at that time?
Oh yeah, tough, really tough. You know, my memories are always just radio announcements, car bomb, this person killed, that person killed, this one taken, claiming the attack. It was always a constant thing. Um, you're hearing about. Leitrim is a very hush hush, very quiet kind of thing because it's so rural, but because it's the border county, a lot of uh, fellas on the run go through Leitrim. There was some hostage situations when I was growing up, which were interesting. We'd have our school bus checked, soldiers coming on and stuff like that, and checking to see if there was bombs and shit. It's mad just to think about that now, but yeah, you just always hearing that narrative, always hearing it, and I was very confused about it and very conflicted about it. And yeah, I would say footy was my savior because it made me think outside of it. Because I was like, well, John Aldridge plays for the Republic. We're cheering for him there. Why wouldn't we cheer for him when he's lining out for Liverpool?
Yeah,
Liverpool always had this association with England, and it's amazing when you grow up and you actually really know the history of it. And Liverpudlians and Irish are very, very similar. So
yeah,
all of that was nonsense that was being told to us about hating Brits and things like that. So
yeah,
yeah, it was tough growing up, and unemployment huge. But everyone looked after everyone. It was a small town. People kind of looked out for each other. I remember going to the unemployment to pick up the dole, and the woman would be there, and she'd be like, "How's work going, Gordon?" "Yeah, no, not so bad," because she knew that I was working in Sligo or whatever, in a kitchen for what, £10 a day or something. But she still signed me the unemployment because she knew everyone knew times were hard then.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but '94 World Cup had a big impact in me looking outside of the box, looking out of like, why are we supposed to hate them and all of that? And it's not
Yeah.
so black and white once you kind of get into it. It's very convoluted, um, which was confusing for me. But yeah, loved Liverpool, and that kind of made me think outside of it. And then I organized a trip there. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear that music there?
No, no, not a thing.
I must come up, me man. You'll be on here. You'll be on the channel soon. You get yeah. So I just I want to carry on. I'm getting all kinds of calls and I'm around the bend. But so 4 brothers. Where are you in the pecking order?
2 older than me. I'm third, and then the youngest, um, Dermot. He actually lives down in Connecticut, and then I have two half brothers, two half sisters, kind of thing. Um, but yeah, middle child, referee. I was a referee growing up,
Uh,
separating my dad and my brothers. Well, one brother. They always just fought. It was
yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
So let's move on a bit then. So you moved to America at 18. What was your college? When did you first pick up drink? I presume was first, and then tell us that like from teens over to going to over in America. What was life like then?
Did you say college?
Or like after school, like school, and then
Oh
beyond.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually had to repeat my leaving. I was absolutely horrible at maths and I failed them on the first go. And I skimmed by the second one. I was 17 at that point. I don't know if you know the whole system. It might be the same. I don't know, but obviously grades are points. So if you got an A plus in higher level English, that would be like 120 point or 90 points. And then if you got A plus in ordinary English, ordinary level, it was only like 60. So when you accumulate all those points and you apply for schools, um, they all determine whether you're going to get in or not. And I was short by 10 points to get into a Fermanagh College, which was in Enniskillen for sports and leisure. And I didn't get in. And I didn't even know what I wanted to do anyway. And then there was this post Leavenscert um, unemployment thing that the county was funding, and it basically, in short, it was to teach you computer skills, interview skills, um, and you had to do all these kind of outdoor pursuits, which was kayaking, mountaineering, hill walking, and I did that for a year, and then I said, "This is going nowhere. I'm out of here."
Yeah.
I got to leave. And my brother was getting in a lot of trouble too, and we got in trouble. There was maybe that justification there now when I look back on it, like stealing and nicking stuff, and it was out of survival. It wasn't out of like just being bad or anything like that. It was just like
Yeah.
needed to eat, needed to have clothes and things like that. So
So
yeah, had to get out.
you had to get out. Why America? Was that with the connection with your mum?
Um, yeah, well, she was there, but my old man, he actually met someone in Ireland, and they started seeing each other long distance, and he actually went and was living with her there. We were still in school, but we were like, this is probably the best thing that's happened to him. Get him the hell out of here. So we were like, just go.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like 16, 17 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that was the connection. I actually went for his wedding and I told him I'm not going back. And that was in 97.
Yeah.
And yeah, I stayed. And I did that for 3 years or something like that. And then I kind of got fed up because I didn't have my papers and things like that. And I left. I did a geographic. I went to Barcelona and I lived there for a year. I found myself back in Dublin. And then I came back eventually to the States and went into acting school and all of this other stuff. And then I got sober shortly after that.
Yeah. Got to stop you there again. So tell us a bit of the travel, the drinking and using days. So it mustn't have been a very long period. Tell us, it must have been a car crash, I imagine.
What's that?
Where did the drinking start? Like, so you're traveling the globe, drinking everywhere you went. Was there any other substances involved?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely graduated to other substances. I started out as hating alcohol. I was not one of these people that were like, "Oh my God, I found my best friend," and all of that stuff. But looking back, I could see how I was very anxious, but I always lived with that anxiety. So I didn't know that. I thought everyone lived like that. So I can see that the alcohol just took that away. And there was definitely a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing. I was more apt to get up to trouble or messing but I also loved the carefree lack of responsibility thing that came with drinking. It just made me feel good that way. So I tell everybody, and in recovery, I trained myself to drink. I don't know, but the rounds at home, and you really always talking about which stay away from vodka. That makes you black out and punch people. You know, drink water before you go out. Try a little bit of olive oil with bread. Everything trying to figure out not to have the hangover and how to drink more. And I'd say when I immigrated, I hit a period where I was very lonely. I didn't know where to go because I knew I couldn't go back, and I didn't feel like I belonged in the States. So I got a job working in a bar, and it was just a big playground. I started working in pubs then for the next, Jesus, 15 years, and half of that was drinking and half of that was sober. But yeah, I think a lot of the stuff, I kind of gloss over it, obviously. But when I talk in recovery, I talk a lot about trauma and PTSD and things like that. I was exposed to a lot of things that a young kid shouldn't see. So in hindsight, I think I was looking at maybe drowning some of that, and I was running to get away from it. So that was the geographics came in, and I would say I just over time, I don't know when that invisible line was, but over time, my capacity to drink, and I could see it. I moved to the States when I was 18, and a lot of my friends were 10, 15 years older than me, and I was hanging with them. And I was kind of having these white light moments of like, wow, Jesus, I did drink a lot today, or that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, and then I think, well, yeah, when I went to Spain, that's when I had a brother come visit me, and things weren't going well with the girlfriend, and that was another thing. Relationships, I couldn't. I was a jack in the box, I couldn't. I always had a type. I always had they were always coming out of a heavy relationship, and then they'd have a year of fun with me, and then they'd be like, "Oh, you want to do something with this?" And I'd be like 1 foot out the door at that point. Of course, I didn't know any of this stuff. I'm going on instinct. I'm going on survival skills, and those don't work after some time. So I think when I went to Spain, there was a little bit of me that had an effort, and my ex, she's not my ex, obviously, but my girlfriend at the time, she she would go out and she would do some drugs now and again, and I hated that. And I think curiosity got the better of me. And when my brother came to visit, I says, "Whatever you're going doing tonight, I know you're trying to find something." I says, "I'm going to do it," and that was it. And I transferred from the local train to the express. I took to it like a duck to water. Um, and I can't remember the name of it now clinically, but Neil, when someone has marijuana,
Yeah.
they just want to fall asleep or eat a pizza. Or if someone has cocaine, they're all wired. I'm the opposite of those two, you know. So uppers really just chilled me out. And I, now know that I've ADD, but I didn't know then. So when I would take things that would increase my heart rate and blood rate, I would even out, and I would feel a certain calm. Obviously, that if you kept doing it, that wouldn't last. But I remember just feeling like, oh, this is nice. But any of the downers were became harder to do, and the depression came with it, and the anxiety got worse. So yeah, I ended up back in a nightclub in Dublin, and we were high at work. Um, yeah, I have some mad stories, but I'll leave them for another time.
Yeah, but we will have one story before we go. But so your whole drinking career, because I say when I didn't make it as a footballer, I went on a 27-year bender. And already looking back in retrospect, and kind of using up and down varying degrees. So how long from first drink to entering recovery was the length of time? Mustn't have been a great deal of time.
Yeah, my first drink, well, my first taste of alcohol was 9. That was just innocently. Grandmother made me a hot whiskey, but I remember the taste. And I remember um, sneaking box wine at Christmas. My aunties used to have this box wine, and it was just like, ugh. But I remember going back to it. So that was the first tastes. I didn't get drunk, anything like that. My first drunk was when I was 12. First time, blackout. Um, and I had multiple of those from 12 to 16. And I hated them. I hated that, not knowing what I did, all that, the shame, all of that stuff. And then emigrated and drink took off. So yeah, it was in my early 20s. I started to kind of look at things, and I think I was 27, 28 when I first embarked in recovery.
Yeah.
But I was always asking questions, Neil, even before looking at my drinking. I found out what codependency was. I found out what Al-Anon was, or an adult child of alcoholism. And I started learning a lot about these things. And I went to these meetings and I started like hearing different things because I didn't think I was alcoholic, but I knew there something wasn't right. And eventually I knew that I couldn't stop on my own. I tried to stop many times. I got 2.5 months, and I was not a happy camper. I was probably dry, angry. I was a gym rat. And but everyone would say to me, "You have no problem. You can leave it down when you want." And I had no education around the disease and how the brain works and all of that stuff. And that all later came in my life. And but yeah, my late 20s, I got into recovery and stayed.
Yeah, so imagine, because I identify loads of that. So imagine after a blackout, say for instance, one of these blackouts, you'd wake up, you'd come to, and then you'd be tortured by your own, like, what the hell, like, fear at first, absolute sheer fear, what's happened. And then
Yeah.
as it like panned out, it wasn't as bad as what could have been. Like, what is up with me? That question reverberating around your head. What the fuck is up with me?
Yeah.
Tortured, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. And as I said, I was in pubs as well. So my whole life revolved around a pub. I'd work 5 shifts, then I'd go out on the 2 nights I was off, and I'd go see other bartenders that I knew, and that was it. 7 days, just there'd be nothing in my fridge. I never drank at home, and I was always out. I was always somewhere in New York and bouncing around Manhattan, up and down, and had some really good times, really good times. But
Yeah.
they'd always inevitably ended up in, I would come to and I'd be in an apartment in Harlem and looking around and going, how the fuck did I get here? And
That's scary.
crack going around the place. I'm like, how someone handing something to me, I'm like, what's this? And I have memories of that, but I do not know how I got there. That's scary shit to me.
I've
That's
got
not.
to glorify blackouts. There's nothing glorifying about them. But tell us one. We only have one, and we'll move on swiftly. Tell us one horrific story of a blackout where it's like in a blackout, like the drinking leading up to the blackout is always like fun, loud, or something's going on. Then there's the blackout can be X amount of time, and then the aftermath to come to the real. And then have you had one of them where things are coming to you? You've done this and you've said that, and it's just, and then you're just in that hole.
Yeah, the one that jumps to my mind, and it's very short. But I always used to get in fight with fucking cab drivers, and I came to in a cab, and it was about 5, 6 in the morning. I lived in the Bronx at that time, and we're on the Verrazano Bridge. I don't know if you know the layout of New York, but Verrazano Bridge is on the other end, heading to Staten Island, not Bronx. And I wake up and I see this meter running, or come to, and I have a pumpkin, a pumpkin beside me, and a bag of something with cigarettes and chocolate and all sorts of stuff. And I'm heading to Staten Island, and I go ballistic, obviously at the cab driver. And I don't know how I got there, what I was doing, where I was going. And he turned off the meter and he took me where I needed to go, but it's an hour in a different direction. But that's just one where, what the hell?
A pumpkin and a bag of chocolate. I mean, that's typical blackout. That sounds like a nice one. Okay, I was expecting.
Yeah.
But that thinking, I kind of knew something was up, but I didn't really know nothing about 12 steps. So I know that I've heard the lingo. There's a bit of 12 steps. How was your journey into going to 12-step meetings, and how did that look?
Yeah, I was very lucky. I met my sponsor on day one. I still wasn't convinced that I should be there. The terminal uniqueness. I took everyone's inventory, but I knew that I always knew my life was not where I wanted it to be, and I knew the drink was interfering with that. But I could not accept I was an alcoholic because I had an interpretation in my mind of what that was. Yeah. Under the bridge, cardboard, cardboard box, drinking out of the bag. That's how I saw alcoholism. So I met my sponsor day one, and he gave me service commitments pretty quick, and my life started to get better, and I just stayed. And I became less and less questioning about it, and yeah, and then that it just takes on a life of its own, and I just found things easier to do. Like I would work my 5 shifts in the pub and not go drinking afterwards, or not do it. I mean, all of these things became very easy to do, and I started to like, have to act in jobs, and I was doing things I was just free. I was free from something, and I just said, if this is the secret, I'm just going to keep going here. Um, and then life happens, and I think that's the big thing is that when you go into recovery, not everything is going to be the winning the lottery and everything falls into place. You still have to face pain, and you still have to face uh, downs and ups and all of that, and be able to handle them all. And my life changed dramatically. I became a dad. I left theater and I left the bar scene, but I didn't have that confidence. That came along a long time in my recovery, to get that confidence and self-esteem to a place of, I'm smart enough to go and do this. I just, from my school days and all of that, and the church, I just thought I was, not smart. So a lot of that overcame over the years. But when I moved to New Hampshire, became a dad, I said, I want to go into this. I was doing 3 different things at the time, and I didn't know which one I was going to end up doing. I trained to be an EMT. I was a chef, and then I was a part-time mentor at this rehab. And I would just take guys to meetings and help them in their apartments and all that kind of stuff. And that was part-time. Out of the 3, that was the one that came up trumps for me. And they asked me to come on board full-time. And then I was in this field, learning about addiction, learning about mental illness. Day one, being surrounded in a room with psychologists and doctors and you name it. And I just was a sponge. And I picked their heads and brains, and they said, go to this school, do this, get that degree. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
That's what I did. And then for the next 10 years, my whole life just changed completely. And my outlook of AA is just a little tiny part of it.
Yeah. That's just the start, and that's
Yeah.
just the foundation. Yeah, so it's amazing. Are you one of them weirdos that went to your first meeting and put down and never picked up? You one of them freaks?
Oh, no. I had a wobble. I did. Yeah. I had a wobble in the road. And that just reaffirmed that it was probably a few months, and that just confirmed for me. I know what this is now. They say you can't drink with a head full of AA and a belly full of beer.
Yeah.
And that was so true to me. I was knowledged now, and now couldn't see how I couldn't stop.
Yeah. It takes it adds the pain when you pick up, doesn't it? It's excruciating. But again, I was speaking about this in a meeting last night. That is actually that pickup is a liberate. What comes on the back of that pickup, the surrender and the willingness to go to any lengths, is actually phenomenal, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's hard to articulate, isn't it?
For me, it smashed all reservations. Like I probably had 98% in the first time round, but that 2% was what came back and bit me in the ass, because I just was like, but I didn't do this and I didn't do that and I didn't do that, and I just felt like I was too young and all of this kind of shite.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just saw how I just went back and tested the waters, and it just reaffirmed for me even more. And I'm not advertising this, but for me, I needed that.
Yeah.
Because the second time round was completely different. And I know a lot of people don't get back, don't get a second chance.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't say this is recommended. But for me, it was definitely I cleared up, because I felt I had problems, and I had a lot of mental things that I was dealing with because of my childhood. And I started to clear up because I was doing therapy, and I thought, oh, I'm better now. That stuff doesn't go away. You still have to work on it.
Well, that's liberating, and so yeah, that was me. I had to go into treatments to break that little hex. You know what I mean? That like I was always 95% in, but could never that last little bit as it repeated itself, but I persevered. Something I did say. So like that's so like early recovery. I say that's 0 to 5 years. I mean, a lot of people have that notion.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what was your biggest obstacle in your first 5 years? Would you say there must have been some moments where there was doubt or
Um, I
another?
no, I'll go a little bit further for you. I would say 10 years, because 10 years was a turning point for me. And I'll tell you why. My son at that time was at an age when I was experiencing things in the house. And I didn't realize it, but I was getting triggered all over the place. And I was like, holy shit, I was this age when I was seeing this and experiencing that.
Yeah.
And through my work, I was sent to this place called the Meadows out in Arizona, out in the desert. And it was a 3 day training on steroids of trauma informed care. And I had to be personal and experiential. And I went through that and I dropped rocks in the desert. And I came back with a whole new perspective. And I said, I need to get my ass back in therapy and I need to do a little bit more here and there. But it changed my outlook on how I was as a father, what were my triggers. So I would say 10 years was a real hard thing for me to get over. You know, it was just me and my son. I couldn't form a true relationship with anyone, Neil. I was married before, and between meeting her, living together, getting married, and divorced was 15 months. And
Wow.
that was one of the longest relationships I was in. I couldn't open up. You wouldn't think it because it was I'm talking now, but I was very quiet. I was just I ruined relationships with my silence, and I used that then as a weapon.
That's
Um,
amazing.
you know, and I just couldn't open up. It wasn't about me. I was able to give love, but I was never able to receive it. I didn't even know what that meant or what that looked like, because I did not love myself enough. I did not have enough um, respect for my life. You know, when I think back on it, you know, just I was reckless, really reckless with my life. I didn't care. So yeah, that was one of the biggest humps for me. And then after that, you know, after a few years, you know, I met Christine, and my whole life changed. And I'm married now over 5 years, and I have 3 kids and one on the way. And we have stress, but man, I have trust. And that was the one thing as well. I don't think I could love someone unless I trust them. And
Yeah.
I have someone in my life now like that, you know. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Sorry, there's a message come from the group from John. I couldn't read that. I'll be going, man. So tell us how you met Christina. Tell us the honeymoon period, what that was like, and how clean were you at that point?
Oh, yeah, I'm in double digits at that point. You know, I met her in New Hampshire. I met her at my work. She came into HR. She was human resources. She worked at this place for about a year and a half, and then left. And you know, because when we were started to be more serious about seeing each other and things like that, because I was on in a leadership team, and there was like policy around leaders on the same team if they were, you know, in a relationship. So she left before any of that, you know, was found out or anything like that. And that's where I met her. And just she, through her own family, she kind of knew, you know, how addiction and alcoholism and mental illness affects people. And yeah, I just met her and we started dating, and it was just easy. It was
Yeah,
just, you know, one of those things.
boss. Well, there's loads today. We've only got about 10 minutes left, so I want to move on about Liverpool now. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Really nice. There's loads of stuff. You've hit me on a level there. Loads of stuff.
We need hours, Neil.
So you said you got a trip over to Ireland, over to Anfield. Tell us about that. What year was that, and who was you with?
Yeah, I was 16. I organized it. Um, I got a group of lads together, and it says, you know, let's go over here. And it was kind of revolutionary, you know, this small little town, and you know, they get wind that 4 or 5 lads are heading over to Liverpool to watch a match. So we got a ferry out of Dublin over to Wales. The weather was shit, so we had to go to Wales, diverted. Then we got on a bus and headed to Anfield, and I saw Liverpool play Blackburn, and oh man, I remember it like it was yesterday. Just
That was around the year they won it, wasn't it? It was I remember
I
Blackburn.
was after Blackburn. Yeah, it was. Chris Sutton was up front for them.
Yeah.
I remember Tim Flowers was in goals because we were giving him abuse. An exciting game. We did everything but score, and it ended in a 0-0, a 0-0 draw. But it didn't take away from just just being there, just seeing Fowler play because I loved him.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It looked like they were playing on a carpet. Anfield was just beautiful. And I just was, yeah, just taken in by the whole thing. And yes, one of my favorite, like probably one of my fondest memories growing up and going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, drink was on that one, and that was happening, but it didn't spoil it. And then years later, uh, I went back in just before COVID. I think Matt actually was at the same game, but it was Liverpool Leicester.
Yeah.
I won all draw, but
So
yeah,
let's talk. So that's the Liverpool connection. So what year was that first trip to Anfield? Was that about 94? Was you a bit later, 96?
it was 96. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So like, so how do you watch it? Have you got a ritual for the game now? Do you watch it all on TV? Or what's your
Oh, I mean, I have apps up the wazoo with Liverpool. But yeah, I mean, when I met Christina, I said, look, I have two loves in my life that there's going to be no compromising with them. And one of them is my son, Miles, from my previous relationship. And I said the second one is Liverpool. And I don't think she fully understood it until she started living with me. And then she understood it, and it was great because she was coming in at a time when Klopp was getting successful and things like that, and he would say things like, "This means more," and she got it. Then she got the idea of like, this is more than a club; it's family. She knew in my darkest days, um, I fought depression in my life and went to some really dark places where I didn't want to be alive. But I always had Liverpool. And I know that's sad in many ways, but it also is a savior in many ways. It saved my life. It saved my life in how I thought in Ireland around politics. And then later on, when I had nothing and I was alone, and that obviously that song means even much more. You'll never walk alone. When I was in those dark days through the storm, it was always there. It was
yeah.
always in my life, always there.
And happy and sad, yeah. I'm on you. So
Yeah.
who's your favourite Liverpool player of all time? You can only have one.
Oh, shit. You can't do that to me.
I'm doing it to you. It's done.
Fuck. I would have. Oh, Jesus. I have to say because it was the beginning, and because it was the first games that I saw. Really, I would have to say Aldridge and Rush up front. I was in love with the fucking two of them, rocking the mustaches, banging in goals. I have a love for John Aldridge because he put on the Irish shirt, but I loved Rush, Ian Rush. Yeah, did you hear that?
Yes, is that Rushy there?
That's Rush right there. Yeah, Rush and Buster. So yeah, Ian Rush.
So when are you coming over? When are you going to get a picture of the statue with the Sober Spirit crew?
Oh man, it's going to have to happen soon. I was going back and forth with Jono about this and how I get over, and got another girl on the way, and
yeah,
it's life is tough. It's crazy like that, but I have a brilliant woman behind me, and she knows that I'm going the first chance that I get. So there's no that's not the issue. The issue is just finding the right time.
Yeah.
And heading over, and I love to meet up with all you lads and have dinner and go to a game and all that stuff. It's on the cards.
You better get the overtime in if you're getting a ticket off me. So when's the new baby? What's the date?
She's the due date is April 5th.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's madness. I can't believe it. two girls and two boys. So
Wow.
yeah, it's all happening. We moved in July. I moved out of Manchester down to Nashua, closer to Boston, and I got a couple of things that need to be put to bed. I have a legal situation that needs to be put to bed, and once I have that put aside, and I change jobs, I'll definitely have Liverpool on the cards then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
boss, I look forward to
yeah.
that. So that's it. So would you class yourself as Irish or American now? Where's your flag fly?
Oh, now I'll always be Irish. Always,
Yeah.
my heart's there. There's not a day that I don't think about it. Um, yeah, I miss it, Neil. I miss it a lot. You know, it was just by survival that I came here, and just after, time passes, and I knew that I couldn't stay there, but I miss it. I love it. I sometimes question what if, um, but no, I do love my life here. America's been good to me. It is a crazy country, but my kids are American. My wife's American, so I have embraced it. But my heart and
Yeah.
roots will always be in Ireland, always.
Does the heart ever return? Is that ever? It could be 10, 20 years or
What, for me to return?
yeah, for the family to relocate. Is that ever happen?
Oh, maybe down the line, but no, I'd say they'll go to school here, go to college here, and stuff like that. And but I definitely want to go over and have summers over there maybe, and get them a little bit of exposure when they're old enough to remember it and things like that. Um, we had before Maeve was born, we actually had um the plan to go over there for 3 months in the summer and just live there, for 3 months and then come back. But it all just got thrown off. Yeah, it's been a crazy few years. Because Ronan is going to be 4, Maeve's going to be 2, and then
Wow.
Nora is going to be born in April. So 2, 4, 6, and then you have Miles who's 12. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
are you
it's wild.
hands-on dad? Are you in the trenches?
What's that?
Are you the hands-on dad?
Big time. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love it. It's too long to go into, but a lot of my circumstances changed, and the legal matter has got to do with my work situation. I was a whistleblower essentially,
Yeah.
and it's kind of blowing up into this big case. But I stand by my truth. So when all of that happened, I was like, why is this happening? But then I realized I let my job consume me too much.
Yeah.
I put it on a pedestal. I was like, career is everything, being a professional is everything. And then, I had this time where I was at home, and I'd never been home that long. And all these self discoveries through that, kids will teach you. And then I was like, wow, I am getting this time. This happened for a reason. And watching Ronan grow up, watching Maeve grow up. Um, I'm there for Miles to go to basketball, to go to soccer, all of these things. I'm available. If I was working on that job, which consumed me, I wouldn't. I would be missing 80% of this stuff, which is madness.
Brilliant. What a way. And
Yeah.
just balance and stay with all that going on, and the way you interact with the group and the way you just spoke, it shows true. It's liberating to us to see and witness. But just to finish up, I know time is of the essence. Just give a quick message to SOS and where do you see it going in the near future?
Well, thanks to you. I think these videos are good. I loved hearing Steve and Matt and Jono's stories. And I want to hear everyone else's. I think, you know, obviously if some of the stateside fellas get over there and visit, it's going to solidify it even more. I do encourage, sometimes we've done those meetups before games and you've been on there. And I feel like once I got off the call, I know Neil that little bit more. There's something about it.
Yeah.
I know Dorothea or Matt or Joe because they've been on there. So if there's ever a time where it's just a meetup, get on there. You don't have to like feel like you need to talk, but just to witnessing all the other people rather than just a text coming in about who's this, you build that connection. So I would like to see more regular meetups, obviously in person, as much as we could. And yeah, and inviting that newcomer. You know, I think I had said to you, like, have a package for them. Like, this is what this is about.
Yeah.
Like the lad Michael has just started now, but the lad before that was in there for about 10 minutes and he was gone. You
Yeah.
know, so we scared him off. But if you could say, like, hey, you want to join this group, here's some videos, you can share mine, whatever, and say, hey, this is what this is about. These are the kind of people that are joining it. Come with us. But also I think it should be open to anyone. You know, if you don't have to be in recovery. If you want to see what it's like to follow the team you love without putting substances in your body, come and join us. Come with us. Walk with us for 30 days, 90 days. And if you stay, you stay. You don't, you don't. But that's where I'd love to have that kind of aspect of it, you know.
Yeah.
All inclusive.
Brilliant. Well, I'm just conscious of the time, so thanks a lot for your time today, Gordo. It's been
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Kids, and I'll see you soon.
Love you, Neil. Take it easy, brother. Thanks for doing this.
Ta-ra, mate.
Never walk alone.
Ta-ra, man.